All right, does hair look okay? This is all for the ladies. This doesn't work, so I got to make this work for me. So a little bit about myself. I was in the Army for 9 years. I spent 3.5 of those years in the Middle East. And it's a part of the world where people don't like Americans, don't speak English, and they want us all gone. I asked the Army for a break, so they sent me to El Paso. This is a little bit of an impromptu thing. This is going to be more big on Facebook and YouTube. But for those of you who want to see the real thing, and you're in the El Paso area, friends of mine, or people who are just out in the public, the pizza joint starting at 2000 or 8 p.m. for my civilian friends, Pizza Joint El Paso. It's by UTEP. Google it, you'll find it. That's a little about me. Now, some people think I'm racist when I tell that joke. They think I'm talking about Mexicans. That's the indirect, but it couldn't be farther from the truth. I'm not a racist. I love Mexico. I love Mexicans, because without them, we wouldn't have tequila. And let me tell you something about tequila. It actually has a practical application. You can use it in law enforcement. The FBI, the CIA, the NSA, they all use it for witness protection. A lot of people don't know this about tequila, but when you drink enough of it, you forget who you were, who you are, and you tend to think that you're somebody you could never be. So it's actually really effective. I love tequila. Some of my best moments that I've had other people describe to me, because I don't remember, because it made me into someone who I apparently wasn't, were from tequila. And I'll drink anything. People ask me, well, what do you drink? Beers, wine, liquor, mixed drinks, even girly drinks, shamelessly. I don't care. Anything you put in a glass and put in front of me, as long as it's not generally poison, I'll drink it. I don't care. I'm fine with it. I was home on my 30th birthday at this concert. And this guy asks me, everybody was buying me drinks for the vet. They heard he was a vet, home on his 30th birthday, been to Iraq, Afghanistan. Everyone's buying me beers. It was kind of awesome. I had a great time. You name it, Coors, Michelob, Miller, Budweiser, all the big brands, right? Some other guy walks up to me, hey man, I heard you're a vet. I'd like to buy you a drink. I'm gonna get you something a little different. It's a man's beer. All right, whatever. I'm not gonna turn down a free beer. It's my birthday. I'm not gonna say no to a stranger. Who says no to strangers? So he goes and he gets me a beer. He comes back with it. He says, here, man, why don't you try this? This is that man's beer. I took a couple sips of it. I was like, I've never had this before, but it's not bad. I don't recognize it. And I said, what is it? He looks at me, and it doesn't matter what voice he had said it in. He could have said this like Arnold, Sylvester, Barry White, Bruce Willis. No matter what tone of voice, he could not have said this manly. So the next words out of his mouth were just, Stella, there is no way you can say Stella Artois and sound manly. I don't care if you're Chuck Norris. I don't care if you're Liam Neeson. If you are at the Super Bowl game at your boy's house, 40-inch flats going, guys are eating nachos, drinking all the beers, Budweiser, Miller. You ask your boys what they want, and one guy chimes in and goes, bring me the Stella. You've lost man points. They're gone. Cash them out. I do love a drink, though. The same week, I was still home for my 30th birthday. I was in this bar, and I was having a good time. I was drinking in excess, but I was minding my own business. Having a good time, occasionally talking to the lady bartender. She heard I was a vet home from Afghanistan on his birthday, so she threw me a couple of shots for free. It was an awesome evening. This guy got high and mighty with me. He figured he'd be my no-drinking superhero. So he walks up to me, and the first thing he says to me is, I said, hey man, I think you drink too much. Now, I was drinking too much. It was my 30th birthday. Last birthday in the Army, I wanted to celebrate. So, yeah, I drink too much. But he was bothering me. I was minding my own business. I was not being a difficult drunk. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make this difficult for him. So I enhance my drunken swagger. I pick up my posture a little bit, and I start swinging around. He says, hey man, you drink too much. You might drink too much. Thank you, that's a very nice thing to say. Really laying it on. And he goes, what the hell do you mean that's a nice thing to say? That's an improvement. Usually people tell me I drink way too much. So I know I'm getting better. And that didn't really knock him off of it. He still decided he was gonna stick it in my business. So he says, you think you might be abusing alcohol, dude? And I went, that's the bullshit. I don't abuse alcohol. I've never struck a bottle of booze in my life. I don't want to break it. It will waste the booze. So the guy, he gives me this look, and I say, but you know what? Clearly, I'm not the one that gets abused, because I'm the one who wakes up on Sunday morning covered in bruises and a dick drawn on my face, a magic marker. I am not the one who abuses anything. I am clearly the one being abused. I guess he was trying to be friendly, so he continued to try and maybe edge the situation in diplomatically. I don't know what his point was, but he looks at the glass in my hand and he says, "What are you drinking anyway?" And I said, "I don't know, but it's kind of like herpes." He looks at me confused as hell. He goes, "What the hell does that mean, like herpes?" And I said, "It goes in real smooth, but it burns later." And he gets fed up. He gets ready to walk away, and I figure, this guy thinks he's some sort of hero on his high horse. I'm gonna get the last word in just to teach him not to bug people that are minding their own business and not being a problem. So as he walks away, all disheartened that he couldn't be the hero, I put my hand on his shoulder and I said, "Hey, pal, don't feel bad. You're not the first person to try to talk to me about my drinking. The voices in my head told me to stop drinking, and I told them that's the only way I could put up with their shit, and they've left me alone since then." So the moral of the story, kids, mind your own business. Don't reason with drunks if they're not doing anything wrong, right? Some of the drinking I picked up since I've been in the Army, a lot of my good old drinking habits were taught to me by my boys from the South. They introduced me by giving me good old Jack Daniels. A thing I gotta tell you about the South, for those of you who haven't been there, Southern people say some crazy shit. I was stationed at Fort Gordon, and when I learned that you can hear Southern people say funny things was a story I picked up in a mall food court. I got in line, my wife sat down, and I get behind these two old rednecks, and yeah, I know you're surprised because there's no rednecks in Georgia. One of them said to the other one out of nowhere, I don't even know what prompted it, but he looks at his buddy and he goes, "That's disgusting. Why would you do something like that?" And I'm thinking, this should be good. I don't know if I necessarily want to hear an explanation from somebody in the South, but this should be good. His buddy looks at him, and he goes to explain. He says, "Well, I know sometimes if people ain't feeling well and they feel like they might want to throw up and clear their stomach, they stick their finger down their throat to hear themselves throw up. So I figured I was having a hard time with the poop. I figured if I jammed my finger up my butt," and I just walked away and went to another restaurant in the food court. I figured Burger King wasn't getting my business that day. It was time to go to Subway. My ex-wife was a little disappointed. She wanted a Whopper, but those kind of stories tend to turn your appetite off. I've met some good ones in the South too. I had one with me in the Army. He was my soldier for a year while I was deployed. And some of the funniest things I've ever heard come from the South, and y'all feel free to use this one if you want. Rain was coming down outside, and this big old hillbilly we had on my team. Let me tell y'all something about this guy. Honestly, he was brilliant, but to hear him talk, you would be surprised to see him come to work in more than overalls and socks. The dude was brilliant, but to hear him explain anything, it was definitely a story. Rain was pouring outside one day, and we had a bent shingle on the hut we lived in Afghanistan, and it was making the rain come down in a really thick channel off of the ceiling. Dude gets a hold of me and he says, "Hey, Sergeant, you hear that rain coming down outside?" I said, "I hear it, big guy. It's coming down pretty hard." He says, "You're damn right. It sounds like a cow pissing on a flat rock." And I didn't know whether to be more disturbed that he had that saying or the fact that I understood it right away. It made me feel like I needed to maybe marry inside the family for the rest of my life. Just a couple weeks later, somebody on the camp was mad. We don't know what it was about. It wasn't one of our guys. It didn't really affect us, but good old Cletus got a hold of me and he said, "Hey, Sergeant, you see that guy fuming over there?" I said, "Yeah, he looks like he's pretty pissed, big guy." He goes, "That guy's crazier than a rat in a hot tin shithouse." And I thought to myself, I'm going to regret this. "Big man, I'm going to need you to explain that one to me." He goes, "Well, Sergeant, you see, in the South, we have these outhouses. Sometimes we call them shithouses." I said, "Okay, I follow." And he said, "Well, we call them tin shithouses because they have tin roofs and sometimes they're made out of a little bit more metal." I said, "Okay, I follow, and I guess a rat gets into the bottom of that shithouse sometimes?" He said, "That's right, Sergeant." I said, "All right, now I need you to explain the crazy part to me." Ladies and gentlemen, that was where I made my mistake. So he began to tell me, well, in these tin shithouses where there's no sewage and no running water, and from his accent, I was even surprised to know that he had running water and electricity before he joined the Army. He told me that, well, in his words, "Well, Sergeant, see, the rat gets trapped down there, and in the summer, the heat makes the fumes come up from all the excrement in the outhouse, and it displaces the oxygen. and that makes the rat go crazy. And before I go on, I'd like to say it surprised me that somebody with his accent knew how to say and comprehend the meaning of displaces oxygen. Well, the rat goes crazy because it can't breathe because there's no oxygen. It starts getting crazy and kicking around, and that is the meaning of crazier than a rat in a hot tin shithouse. At that point, I got the urge to go and buy a wedding ring for my own cousin, because when you hear something like that, you just feel like the South has taken over your mentality. And ladies and gentlemen, these are all true stories. This all happened to me, and I just want to tell you, I got my little comedy act here from things that have happened to me, because comedy, sometimes it's where you find it, and sometimes it finds you. So I'm going to tell you a story about my first deployment as a private. We were on a camp in Iraq, and a rocket comes barreling at a porta-john. Me and my boys are outside where we work, and as the rocket's coming out the porta-john, we don't even have time to turn and yell to tell our boy that's in there, that went for his bathroom break. So by the time we turn and look, the rocket has already hit the porta-john, hit one side, punched clear through, and gone out the other side. Now, what was really amazing about this is the rocket did not explode. But before the rocket got all the way away from the porta-john, our boy Johnny barreled out of that porta-john. He didn't even open the door. He shouldered it open. The lock went flying off somewhere into the distance, the little flap. And he just come trucking to where we're behind cover at this point. We kept peeking up to see where he was. He still had his pants around his ankles. Now, by the time he come running at us, the rocket had hit some barrier and it didn't explode. While he's running at us, we realize old Johnny still got his pants and his underwear clear down around his ankles. He's got his rifle up over his shoulder like those bums you used to see in the Looney Tune cartoons. He's holding it by the barrel, and he is beating his little feet restrained just as quick as I've seen anyone with their feet unrestrained running for his life. And the only thing covering his cash and prizes is the groin protector on his armor, which is occasionally flapping us up, giving us a trailer of the movie about to come. He gets up to the barrier, hops up on it, throws his rifle over, vaults over the barrier behind cover. Now here's the thing, is when he vaults over, he goes completely horizontal, and his groin protector come up, and we had a clear shot of his cash and prizes. It was an eye-opener. He lands behind the barrier, shimmies his pants up, grabs his rifle, and he's just panting. Good 30 seconds go by, I just look at him, I go, "Johnny, say something, buddy." And he goes, "Mac, let me tell you something, buddy. I was having a hard time struggling with that turd till that goddamn rocket came through that fucking porta-john." Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate the audience. Putting this out on YouTube and Facebook. If you're a friend of mine or you think this was a good funny act, share it around. Let your friends know. I appreciate it. Thank you. Is that good?